Okay, I'm gonna make a quick video here talking a little bit about concealed carry. Um, it's been a little bit since I've made a video for this channel, and this isn't really a topic that I've touched on a whole lot. Mostly I've stuck to practical shooting, USPSA, and competitive stuff, and just how to get good at shooting in general. But I figure a lot of you who are into shooting probably carry a gun as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about guns that I carry, that I have carried, and try to help you make a good decision on which gun to carry if you haven't made that decision already. So, first thing, I'll start with the first gun that I carried. That would be this Smith & Wesson Shield. I've had this gun for a long time now, coming on 5 years, and pretty much carried it every day of that time that I've owned it. Where I live here in South Dakota, we can carry even without a permit at 18 years old. So I did that. When I was 18, I got this gun, and I carried it just about every day since. Recently, I've changed that up a little bit. I had a different holster for it. Now I've got this Safariland Incog X, much better holster than the one I previously had. But yeah, I carried this gun, and I don't have a problem with this as a carry gun. A little bit low on capacity, 8+1 with the extended mag, which is how I've mostly carried it, just because I'm able to get a better grip with that longer mag, and that's important for shooting a gun well. Recently though, I kind of got the itch to try carrying a bigger gun. I already had this Glock 47 for shooting competition with. You guys have seen this gun on this channel before. Great gun, love it. Been killing with it in matches pretty much the whole season, and yeah, recently it was like, hey, I'd kind of like to carry this. So I went ahead and got a Safariland Incog X for this gun as well. This one's got a mag caddy on it, which really don't need, I guess. 17+1 is plenty without a spare mag, but it's got that. I'd kind of like to turn this into a tourniquet holder if I can figure out a way to do that. That's another conversation though. I was expecting this to be, a little on the harder to conceal and less comfortable side. It's been the exact opposite for me. This has been more comfortable, more concealable, and I just like it more. So when you're looking at buying a gun, think about that a little bit. The internet is going to tell you that a smaller gun like this is going to be easier to carry, gonna make you want to carry more, and gonna be easier to conceal, more comfortable, all of that. I really don't think that's always true. I think that a lot of people, if you're a somewhat normal sized male, I'm about 5'10" and 165 pounds with a pretty athletic build. This gun in this holster conceals pretty well, and is very comfortable. I have added this foam wedge on this holster. I've got a few of them. I gotta put one on this holster for the Shield as well, because I think that would help that gun carry a little bit nicer as well. But yeah, I'm all for carrying a bigger gun, and on top of all that, just how it carries, it's a bigger gun. Like, I'm gonna be able to shoot it better. I have an optic, I have a light. Light doesn't necessarily help me shoot better, but it's there if I need it. And it's a full-size gun, more rounds, longer barrel. Like, everything about shooting this gun is gonna be nicer than shooting this gun. Not that I shoot this gun bad, but I shoot this one better, and I practice with this one a lot more because I shoot it in competition. So that's something to consider. If you think, if you have a full-size gun already and you think that you need a smaller gun for carry, I wouldn't say that's necessarily the case, and I would highly recommend you go ahead and get a concealed or a, inside the waistband type holster for your full-size gun and try that first, assuming it's a semi-appropriate carry gun. If it's, something older or something that maybe is questionable safety, like certain brands that people probably know about by now, maybe don't. But if it's something like a Glock, PDP, M&P, yeah, I'd say go ahead and get a inside the waistband holster for it and give that a try before you go buying a different gun, because you might find that you like that perfectly well. Next thing to kind of touch on is like revolvers. So this is actually a 22 revolver. I have a very similar revolver in 357 Magnum. I wouldn't ever really carry something like this. I mean, this one has a long barrel, same length as the 357 gun that I've got. I love that gun, but I'm not gonna carry it. Like, it's a ton of fun to shoot. It's cool and old and has all the vibes, and that's about the only reason I'd ever carry it, is for the vibes. So that's my thought on that. There are some revolvers that are maybe worth carrying if you're into wheel guns and just like them, but I probably wouldn't for somebody new getting into this. Something I would recommend if you're looking at getting a concealed carry gun, that I think if I buy a dedicated full-size gun for carry, I will be looking at this. It would be something that's double action, single action, like a DASA gun. It's got a hammer on it. I really like the idea of having that for reholstering, especially in the appendix position. A gun like this, a striker gun, it's always got the same trigger pull. I don't mess with my carry gun triggers, so I'm, rocking stock, 5 to 7 pound pulls, which is enough, but I would even prefer having that heavier with a double action gun, especially for, like I said, reholstering, being able to put your thumb on that hammer. If this was a DAS gun, I'd put my thumb on the hammer as I'm putting the gun in the holster. That way, if anything is snagging on the trigger, you can feel it, trying to pull that hammer back, and then you can know, oh, something's wrong, and look at that. The way I get around that with a striker gun is I clear all my garments before, putting the gun into the holster. I look, kind of look the gun all the way into there. So that's kind of how I deal with that. But in any case, that's something to consider. But yeah, the main thing I kind of wanted to touch on was just the myth that, a smaller gun is always better for concealed carry. I don't really think that's true. And I think that carrying a bigger gun can be pretty awesome. I didn't really think that up until now, or up until recently. But, after giving it a try, I'm glad I did. Yeah, I'm a fan of bigger carry guns. So, something completely full size like a Glock 47 is maybe a little bit overkill. Like, if I was buying one specifically for concealed carry, it'd probably be like a 19. But in any case, yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents on that. Then the other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is Glock's ridiculous news that dropped like yesterday as I'm recording this. I guess they're discontinuing all of their guns and re-releasing them as V models, whatever that's supposed to mean. This is supposed to take place November 30th of 2025. So, although I've heard some people say that they're having orders canceled already, which is crazy. I don't really know what's going on with this. It sounds like the lawsuits about the capability of putting a switch on a Glock to make it like full auto or whatever is kind of where this spurred from. Stupid liberal cities are suing Glock because people are modifying Glocks and committing crimes with them, which is so stupid. Like, just punish the people who are committing the crimes, which those cities don't do. Not to get political on here, but like, yeah, there's that. My thoughts on it, though, from the gun industry side of things, not the political side of things. I think it's probably not going to be that big of a deal in the long run. In the short term, it's pretty stupid because their main reason it's stupid is they're releasing all of these guns as non-MOS models. So you're not going to be able to put an optic on them unless you get them milled, which there are services that, mill guns. There's companies that do that. Hopefully they're not going to change too much with the slide so that companies will, be able to continue to do that. If that slide geometry gets changed much, it's possible that companies will have to kind of redo the way they they mill those slides, and then it'd get really weird. Hopefully that's not the case, and people will still be able to direct mill the guns. But I think it's very strange that they're releasing the non-MOS models first. I don't really know anybody who buys non-MOS Glocks. Like, anyone who I know who's bought a Glock for any semi-serious purpose in the last few years has bought an MOS gun because optics are kind of the thing right now. So that's weird. I'm guessing that in the next month or two, they're going to be coming out with V models that are MOS cut or somehow optics ready from the factory, and that'll change the game a little bit. But my opinion generally on Glocks is that they have gotten better with time. I don't have any experience with Gen 1 or Gen 2 stuff other than like fiddling around with them in a gun store a couple of times. But like the Gen 5, I do think is pretty much the best gun that Glock has made. Like, the Gen 5s kick butt. I know some guys still love the Gen 3s. I really don't care much for the Gen 3s. I've got a Gen 4, and I like that way better than the Gen 3s. I like my Gen 5 even more than my Gen 4. So, I'm going to call this V model thing kind of a Gen 6 of sorts. And I'm guessing it's going to be an upgrade, honestly. Glock has seemed to improve as they've gone along. I don't think they're really going to completely drop the ball with this new release. Granted, they're dropping the ball a little bit by not making them MOS ready from the get-go. That's a little bit stupid. But as far as the gun goes, like, mechanically and all of that, I'm guessing they're going to be fine. I'll probably end up buying one at some point, or at least shooting one of somebody else's, and then I'll get to see. But for now, that's my prediction. I think it's going to be an upgrade in the long run. In the short term, it's kind of annoying, honestly. It's pretty stupid, but whatever. So, yeah, if you're in the market to buy a Glock in the next few months, you might be looking on the used market, or you might be buying a V model. And if you wanted to put an optic on it, well, tough luck, I guess. But hopefully that won't be too big of an issue for too long. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Let me know what you guys think. I was pretty shocked to see that news. Not really sure what is going on with this. I didn't think that this... I mean, I had heard about the, switches and the lawsuits and stuff with that, so I knew it was happening. I didn't realize it was a big enough deal to make Glock correct, I shouldn't say correct course, but change course in such a big way. But anyway, yeah, let me know your thoughts on that. And on the topic of the video with, concealed carry, let me know what guns you guys carry, what you like about them, what you don't like about them, what you think your next carry gun might be, what's driven your thought process in picking those. I'd be interested to hear all of that. So, anyway, until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.